Okay, you're live. Thanks.
Okay, are we ready to go?
We are.
We are. Okay, fine. I call to order the meeting of the Economic Development Commission of the town of Rocky Hill for September the 14th. This is a remote meeting, and everyone is here who should be, right?
Kathy Carone has called in earlier this week. She cannot make tonight's meeting.
Okay, so everyone else is here.
Everyone else is here.
All right, let's move on then to the minutes. I need a motion for for approval of the minutes of our August 10 meeting.
Okay, I make a motion to accept the August 10th minute meetings.
Okay, can we have a second?
Make a second.
So that was Doris making the motion and Brian making a second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, passes unanimously. Okay, is there anyone present for with any questions from the public? Did anyone contact us, Ray?
No, John Murphy
No,
would
no.
have notified us.
Okay, fine. All right, do we have the Rocky Hill Chamber update? Is there anyone present? Okay, so there's no one here. Okay, and oh gosh, we're moving along. We'll go to item 5, which is the presentation, and look forward to welcoming Peter Ludwig, the Senior Manager for Marketing Engagement of the Connecticut Green Bank CPACE program.
Great.
Welcome.
Thank you
Welcome,
so much.
Peter.
That was a very efficient meeting so far. I'll try to keep it efficient. I'm going to share my screen. I have some slides I just want to kind of use as a conversation piece. Not sure if I'm sharing. Are you seeing a PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
It just popped up.
So yeah, thank you. So Ray and I were talking last week. I've been at the Green Bank for about almost a year, and my primary function there is to make sure that people all across the state kind of know about our CPACE program and some of the other commercial programs we might have. So obviously the Green Bank's partnership with Rocky Hill precedes me by many years. And we're grateful for your early adoption and partnership on the program. And thank you for the chance to come and talk. So I'm going to just give you a little bit of a refresher about the Connecticut Green Bank, sort of assuming that you might have heard of us, but might have forgotten or may not know who we are. I'll talk a little bit about three of our programs, CPACE, or I guess project/products, also our power purchase agreement for solar and renewable energy, and then a kind of exciting new program that's coming down the pipe for battery storage. When I wanted to start, do you all have a working understanding of CPACE? Would it be helpful for me to get into a couple slides about it?
Yeah, why don't you do that for some of the newer commissioners who were not around back in 2012, just to give a quick update. Okay,
great. So I'll get into that. So I will start by just kind of who we are, what we do. The Connecticut Green Bank is a quasi-state agency, which I guess functionally really means that we have some of the advantages of the state being a state entity, but sort of less of some of the red tape, when we're at our best. And we work on kind of in 3 different areas. We do a lot of residential low-interest loans for heat pumps and insulation and other things like that. We've done a lot of solar work, helping build up the residential solar market. We also, I think the track we're kind of talking about is the middle one here, where we work with buildings, commercial buildings and industrial buildings. And then we also have some investment solutions. We recently did a second year issuance of what we were calling a Green Liberty Bond, which is sort of basically a consumer facing bond at low denominations that helps us raise capital for some of our other programs and projects. So we're funded by some electric ratepayer dollars. We obviously get interest income from our portfolio, and we also do things like bond issuances and other things. And we get sometimes we apply for competitive federal RFPs and things like that. So we have kind of a mix of funding. But the real purpose for the Green Bank is we know that there's a lot of economic development need. We know there's a lot of the state has kind of aggressive clean energy goals, but there's not enough public money, not enough free money to do what needs to be done. So we try to take the public money and leverage more private capital into the market for clean energy. And so CPACE is one way we do that. CPACE is, it's called, now I'm forgetting what the acronym stands for, even though it was on my first slide. It's Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy. Basically, it's a way of long-term financing for clean energy. We can go up to 25 years. Rather than securing it with a mortgage or something, it's just attached to the tax parcel through basically a senior assessment that's placed on the property. So we've worked across Connecticut. We have 240 different municipalities who have opted into the program. So we continue to work on that. We've got some stragglers, but we're getting them in. And so basically what this means is that a building owner can finance, doesn't have to come out of pocket for capital, can finance 100% of the costs of clean energy measures, and that sort of functionally, if the project changes hands in the future, that assessment stays with the property rather than the owner. So we've actually had several projects, CPACE loans, be transferred smoothly from property owner to property owner and just stay with that property, which is a really nice flexible aspect of the financing. I have like 3 more slides about this, so I'm going to try to talk through them, and then I'll stop for questions. The idea is basically that the repayment terms are so long that the energy savings will outstrip, the cash flow from the energy savings basically will outstrip will outrun the debt service essentially. And we actually have a statutory requirement to make sure that the energy savings will actually at least pay for the debt service over the term of the loan. So that's one way that we are able to also help building owners to make sure that the projects are really going to result in savings. We are the state administrator of the program. There are a few, we also are a lender, but there are a few other lenders in the space. So we try to maintain a sort of open market. We encourage people to come into it because we want it to be sort of driven by, by multiple players. And as a state agency, a lot of times we find ourselves sort of plugging in and doing deals that maybe other lenders don't want to do. Sometimes we actually don't get involved in larger projects because we know that there's enough market appetite by other lenders. So we have this kind of dual role as a lender and an administrator. So all the CPACE loans in the state come through us for approval. And we have that administrative function while also, I'm out talking to building owners all the time. And this sort of explains, it's another way of looking at the graph that I showed on the last slide where, you've got a normal building owner just has they're paying their energy bills. They're not thinking that much about it. But with CPACE, they're going to reduce their energy bill dramatically. I'm a little bit red-green colorblind. I think that this bottom bar that says energy bill is green, could be pink or gray. I'm not quite sure, but this bar, would be the reduced cost. So they're still paying back their CPACE loan over time. They're going to pay it back. If the property taxes are due twice a year, they'll just pay it twice a year. Same cycle. but then overall they're paying much less because you can see they're getting, you know, in this rendering, they're getting some savings out of the project. And I'll just say also that we're basically, we can finance anything that will save energy, create clean energy, that's permanently affixed to the property. So by statute, we can't do things like, you know, if there's a manufacturer who has some kind of process equipment, it's very hard for us to make the case that that's permanently affixed to the building in the same way that, like, you know, HVAC system or windows or something like that is. So that's one kind of stipulation that we have, but it's otherwise it's really open to a range of projects and range of scope of works. And we have an open contractor pool as well. So we don't tell people, you know, you have to do exactly this or exactly that. We just help make sure that, you know, there's a financial underwriting and that there's a technical underwriting to make sure that the project savings will actually cover the debt service. I'll just give one, I'll show you one case study just to give you a sort of example of the type of projects. So as you can see, this project, Fourstone Capital, did a pretty substantial retrofit project, you know, something that if they were going to the utility companies, they would still have to, they still got an incentive, but had to come up with a lot of capital or, you know, using cash reserves and really wanted to finance this. So, you know, $6 million worth of savings over the lifetime of the upgrade, pretty substantial work on the HVAC, the controls, the windows. VFDs are variable frequency drives that help you more efficiently control, you know, forced air systems and other things like that, or boiler systems. And so a pretty substantial scope of work. And so as you can see, you know, their annual CPACE assessment, this 175,000, in other words, whoops. In other words, what they're paying on their, basically their loan payment every year is much less than the cash flow created by the energy saving. So this is a good example of, you know, how access to capital really helped this owner make a serious dent in their operating costs. I'll also just say a couple of things about the way the program has grown. And I think I'll say a couple other things and then I'll stop for questions. We've seen that it really applies to a bunch of different kinds of buildings. You know, any owner who's kind of capital constrained, who wants that long-term financing, it's really all over the map, as you can see on this slide. And the program is really growing. You know, we've seen a lot of movement in existing buildings and in new construction, which we'll talk about in a minute. As the program has grown, another change we've made is that we've actually taken over the role of billing, rather than asking each town to handle, you know, the collections of the payments on the assessment for every project. We have now taken that function in-house, thus sort of reducing the burden and the cost on each town. And we rolled that out I think this summer. I don't remember exactly which month, but from our perspective and the feedback we're getting, it went really well. People, I think, appreciated it. Another thing that we're seeing, there was a really big, one of the biggest CPACE deals, the biggest CPACE deal we've seen in Connecticut so far. Like the average project size is about 500,000. We'll do a project as small as 30,000. So, you know, some church comes to us and wants to do a solar system, or some small business, we will do our best to help them. But we've also seen I think an almost $14 million CPACE project that just was closed in Hartford at an old convent that's being turned into housing and some social services and such. So it's really exciting to see kind of larger projects look at this as a tool to reduce the cost of capital. So we do a lot of retrofits, but I think also we're seeing, as this slide sort of points out, that a lot of folks are looking at CPACE for new construction because it is for sort of mid-market deals and larger. It can be a cheaper source of mezzanine debt, where, typical CPACE interest rates are like, between somewhere in like the 5 to 6 range around there. So it can really overall reduce the total cost of capital in the capital stack. And also just there's more capital available. So this is another thing that we're seeing. We're seeing that nationally, but also in Connecticut. So I think I want to stop there and see and talk a little, see if there's questions about CPACE, because I know I covered a lot.
Yeah, any questions from the commission?
I had 4 of them, but you covered them all before you stopped.
I know we've done, I know I was talking to Ray before, and there was a question about how many projects have happened just in your town, and we've actually only seen 3 that I can find in our database. They were solar projects. So we, whatever we can do to make sure that more people know about this and can sort of think about it as they're thinking about their operations costs and cash flow and aging systems, or new construction and repositioning. We want to make sure that, there's a whole host of sort of contractors who know about how to use CPACE, and Green Bank and other lenders who can support the process or just have conversations. So that's a lot of what I do, is just sort of talk to people and learn what they're trying to accomplish. I also make a lot of referrals if, we have there are other projects we do with utility companies. If they're sort of smaller projects, there are some other options to do, like on-bill financing for energy projects. So we partner with Eversource and others on those, but I'm always excited to have the conversation with people, to see if they've thought about, if they've thought about their energy costs, if they've thought about renewable energy systems, if they've thought about having to do some sort of capital improvement upgrade, and whether they have the capital or really want to finance it over a longer term. So I'm excited to have those conversations, or direct people to our website or what have you.
So Peter, this is eligible for mixed use projects?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, residential mixed use?
Yes.
Okay.
And the one thing that I would say it can be a complication. I mean, because of the way CPACE sits on the tax parcel, because it's basically sort of like a sewer assessment or something like that, it is considered by its nature senior to other debt on the property. So it's kind of like there's property taxes, there's CPACE, and then there's everything else. So we do need consent from any other mortgage holder. We have gotten over, because we've been running the program for a while. More and more lenders and more banks are becoming accustomed to CPACE and getting comfortable with it. Usually we can have a good conversation with them, because CPACE is also not considered accelerating debt, meaning that if there's a foreclosure situation or something, CPACE is attached to the property. So, if the bank tries to get another buyer to take on the property, then whoever the CPACE lender is, whether it's the Green Bank or some other lender, there's going to be an owner who will take that on and continue to pay it off. So we just basically say, hey, if there's a foreclosure, which we haven't had, I don't think, too many of, but we would say, hey, if there's if the assessment that's due this year is a couple $100,000, that's what's in arrears, then just like make sure we're whole for now, and then there's plenty of value left in the property for the mortgage holder, and then the payments can continue when the next property owner takes over. So it's also flexible in that way.
Good.
Peter, I have a question. Is there a minimum requirement amount?
The smallest deal we'll do is $30,000.
Okay.
We would, for obvious reasons, rather not do too many of those, just because it's sort of the balance of being like a state agency and having a sort of mission driven approach, and also that, of course, we'll lose money on those projects, but we'll definitely do them.
Okay.
And we're finding that a lot of other lenders don't want to do, what's good is that there are other lenders who are, CPACE is getting to be a big enough thing nationally that there are CPACE specialized lenders who are getting big, infusions of cash from larger banks or capital providers or investors. What that also means is that sometimes they're now shying away from smaller projects. And we're really trying to make sure that, the family who owns a sports, like a gym somewhere, that they can access this, and that, sort of churches and YMCAs and sort of family businesses and small businesses have access to this kind of tool. That's not just the multi-million-dollar projects that have access to CPACE. So that's sort of one of the things that we're trying to focus on a lot. And I feel like there's, I was going to say something else. Maybe it'll come back to me.
Okay, thank you.
So I can move, if there are no questions, I can move on to there's a couple more slides I wanted to share.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was just, this is a sort of solar specific conversation about a power purchase agreement. Are you familiar sort of with the concept of a power purchase agreement?
Yeah, we have a PPA, 3 of them actually, with Tesla for our 3 megawatt solar farm.
Amazing. Okay, so I'm talking to the experts.
Not quite.
So, basically we do a lot of these with nonprofits mainly. And it's a really good option for them because, I think the main thing is that it gives them certainty of savings over the contract. And also, the risk of the system, like the operation and risk, is taken by us, right? So they can purchase energy from us at a lower rate, and we deal with maintenance, and if the system doesn't produce as well, or a flock of geese flies into a panel and breaks, and that's our problem. That's actually never happened, I don't think, but just so we have a stable of contractors who are have worked with on power purchase agreements, and so have sort of a process for getting competitive prices. I think for profit companies who can take the federal tax credit, which is I think the 26% off the top of the project, it's probably a better deal for them to just own the system. But for nonprofits who sort of can't take advantage of that, that's usually the way they'll go is with a PPA. The last thing I wanted to mention was just really briefly, I'm actually not working on this program, but we are at the Green Bank, but our team is developing a battery storage program. This is sort of in response to the regulatory agency, PURA, wanting to really develop a sort of better grid, right? That one that can be more responsive and more dynamic with storage and renewable energy. So we're going to be launching this at some point in the next few months. There should be pretty rich incentives for commercial and industrial customers. At the bottom, you can see the cap will be about 50%. So there could be a really nice opportunity with CPACE and battery storage to sort of to look at doing, can we do solar and storage, and maybe electric heat pumps, and really like minimize the electricity cost, and also provide a sort of more resilient building, which is I think especially critical for hospitals and industrial facilities and things like that. So this is a sort of exciting thing that I think at some point in the future, when we know a little more about how this would look, we'd be happy to come back and talk to you, or talk to sort of whoever you'd like us to about this, and share more information about it. And I think that's sort of all I had formally to say. Like I said, I'm happy to talk to anyone at any time, just to be a resource. That's a lot of what I do. People are also always welcome just to call me. I have the telephone and the mobile, but actually the first number rings to my mobile phone, so it's kind of like the same thing. But so I'm always findable, and people can also schedule me directly using that Calendly link, which is really nice because I never go back and forth about what time people are available. I just say, schedule me if you want to talk, and it saves me so much time. So, so I'm happy to chat more and take questions. And thank you so much for the opportunity to come and talk.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Peter?
Is there anybody out there?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Peter, do you? Are there any other questions?
No, I was
Okay.
just going to say, I'll probably be contacting Peter about a couple of large development projects on the horizon here in town. So we'll be getting in touch with him.
I have just a quick question.
Fairly soon.
So Peter, when you first go out to a building to look at it, or I mean, after some research, are you able to kind of give the owner some idea of what their savings will be yearly, even with their payment?
Yeah, that's a sort of part of the process. Usually the first part of the process will be, a conversation or a site visit just to sort of learn more about what they're trying to accomplish. And usually we'll try to sort of do a pre-qualification with them as well, just to say, is there a mortgage holder or something, and do we know them, and will it be a total nightmare to try and work with them? Like, is there some issue that just an underground storage tank that will be a problem later on, or stuff like that. But then after that, we would work with them to if they need help connecting with contractors, or if they need introductions to energy engineers or something, or to the utility companies for some programs, I'll help facilitate that. And then usually after we've gotten some proposals from a contractor, that's when we can kind of sit down and say, okay, let's see what their projections are. Let's see what their, we basically will, what we need is something that says, hey, I looked at the building and we're going to replace this boiler with a more efficient model, and we think it's going to save X amount of BTUs a year over such and such years. And then we can kind of talk to our engineer and say, does that look right? And that's part of the process of our technical underwriting, to make sure that, that the project savings are real, and that they will, that we can sort of fit them in the loan, basically, that we can match the savings to the loan size. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But, and then one other question. So the contractors that are hired to do the work, so are they paid like upon completion of, say it's an HVAC system, are they paid upon completion of the installation, or are they paid like half up front, half later? Because I know that sometimes is difficult to get contractors for certain projects, depending on when they get paid.
Yeah, I mean, usually the contractor and the building owner or the developer are, they have a relationship.
Their own relationship.
Their own relationship. We don't really get in the middle of that.
Okay.
And in fact, I'm sort of like, as a state agency, we don't really do like direct referrals. I mean, we have a list, right, and we'll say, here's folks who are in your area. It's all searchable on our website.
Okay.
And we know, and not every contractor is able to do the type of energy calculations that we need. So that's why we have some engineering capacity. So we're always happy to get on the phone with the contractor and the owner and sort of try to figure out how to get them, to that point, because we don't want it to be sort of a, you must create this engineering treatise just to get access to the capital, right? We want to do as much hand holding as we can to get them to that point.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Just a quick
Okay.
comment. I sent, Peter, I just sent you an email. If you want to send something that I could put in the Rocky Hill Chamber of Commerce newsletter to get out to the businesses, just reply to that and send me something over.
Great. I'd love to do that. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions?
I'm all set.
Well, hearing none, Peter, I want to thank you for a very informative presentation, learning about what is possible, and I would encourage anyone out there who is looking at us on the Access channel, the Government Access channel. If you are interested in hearing more directly from Peter, please contact him. Thank you very much, and we will have you back soon on other projects, I hope.
Great. Happy to be here. Thanks
Okay,
again. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay, moving on, let's see. Director's update. Ray, give us an update. What's happening?
Well, the director doesn't really have much of an update this month. These projects that we've been working on for a very long time they take a long time. Ames will be submitting an application to Planning and Zoning in November for their mixed use project. That's the schedule right now. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the big update. They're really, I'm working on one brownfield grant for the town farm right now, getting all that contract work and DECD agreement paperwork finalized, and trying to get the environmental professional consultant out to the site so we can start demoing the house pretty soon. So quite a bit of time on that. So, that's really all I have right now. I can take questions now. If you have questions, please let me know what's on your mind.
Ray, so
Anyone have?
I have a question.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
On the Silestine Highway, a lot of questions on when is Taco Bell going up? Next year, right? Did we say next year?
No, Taco Bell seems to be a very, very popular development proposal. As you see, it's under construction now, and
Right.
they're ripping parts of the building off and retrofitting it. It'll take a few months. Probably next year after January. It sounds like a good
that's
time
what
frame.
I thought it was sometime like in the new year. Okay.
Yeah. Taco Bell.
That's about the fourth question I've had today from people. So I guess they made a good choice in selecting Rocky Hill to do business in.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a quick update on the banner program. CGI, the company that made our town video,
Okay.
they're promoting their banner program. We signed the contract with them. They will be soon visiting businesses to see if they want to sponsor a banner on one of the new light poles along the Silestine Highway. We received a prototype banner in Parks and Rec. We'll make sure that it does actually fit the poles, and when that happens, we'll give the word to go, and businesses can expect to receive some phone calls from this company. If they have questions about the phone calls, they can call me. If they have questions, then I can try to answer them for them.
Have they given you any pricing information at all on how much that'll cost?
It depends. Well, these banners are rather small, unfortunately, but I think they were looking at maybe $350 to $450 and up, depending on the design. The businesses can use their own logo, so they can have the company design a logo for them. So it's going to vary business by business, but I would imagine around starting at around 350 to 450. And they're up for a year. If they get damaged, the company will come out and replace them at no cost. The company will provide all the hardware at no cost. They will take them down, set them up, and do everything for no cost to the town.
Oh, okay.
Very good.
And that's it for me.
Okay, are there any other questions for Ray on anything particular? Okay, I guess that's it for our agenda for this week. And look forward to meeting again next month. And can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Can I have a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, fine. Everyone take care and have a pleasant end of summer.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.